I keep being shown images of the felon's passing and funeral. Let's look into that. Welcome to Scrying Out Loud. My name is Trevor. First off, a huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you for liking, watching, commenting on the videos, sharing the videos, watching the videos all the way to the end. This is really what makes the channel grow. So thank you, thank you, thank you. YouTube is suppressing my videos. I can see it in my metrics of how many people are shown the thumbnails, and it has nothing to do with the number of people percentage watching the videos. It's bizarre. So, um, and people have told me that they're subscribed and they're not seeing the new videos when they come out. So if you want, you can hit that little bell thing to get notified. I'm not exactly sure how that works. I've never done it before myself, and or if you just want to check, I generally post pretty regularly, pretty daily, except for not always on Sundays. This week I did have a cold, so I didn't post anything on Friday, I believe. So okay. So the felon's images of him passing are pretty much the same. It's him kind of slumping over in a chair, not able to catch his head on his hand, and not being able to move one side of his body. And then, it's like he kind of tries to get up and then he falls, and that's kind of how he's found. Um, that part really hasn't changed any. It's just was shown to me again when I was scrying. And some of these images are from scrying, some of them are from my dreams, and um I can usually tell the difference between just a dream and a prophetic dream. The other thing that I was shown that is different is that it feels like there's going to be some sort of health emergency prior to this, where I got images of him being put on an IV, people being rushed into the White House through secret channels, secret tunnels, that were doctors. I could also uh, see people making phone calls to Melania and to Ivanka, and neither one of them picked up. I don't know what that says. You can interpret that as you wish. Um, and then just a smirky, giddy JD Vance went along with this. So it was very clear that he was having trouble breathing. He was trying to loosen his tie. He was sweating profusely, and just like having a hard time setting up. So he was laying down, with his back being propped up with pillows on the floor. So we'll look into that as well. Now, as far as his funeral goes, this feels quite sad in the sense that uh, nobody wants to be there. That's just what it feels like. Nobody wants to attend this event. Uh, um, Vance gives a eulogy, and I think that's the only prominent figure that does. I don't think any other figure gives a big figure gives a eulogy. I don't. Um, of course, there are people celebrating in the streets. There are people dancing and cheering and all sorts of things like that, and protesting because there is a state funeral. So we'll look into that as well. And people, with their trader signs and stuff. It makes me wonder if some Epstein stuff doesn't come out a little bit beforehand, this happening, because there's also some derogatory signs with the word that starts with P and ends with O that's only 4 letters long. I'll let you put together what that is. Um, so it's very much it feels like the stress is what leads to this. So we'll look at that as well. The funeral seems pretty sparsely attended, to be honest with you. It seemed like they made some sporadic changes at the end to make it look like it was fuller than it was. A lot of world leaders choose not to come, and part of it because I think there's some weather issues as well, and there's some issues with travel. But I did see Prime Minister Carney be there along with the Mexican president. Um, and it seemed to me like they were laughing and having a really good time, as if this was a joyous event for them. Now, of course, politically, they're not going to say that, but I think that's the case worldwide. Huge celebrations worldwide. Um, and it just feels like it's like his death is one thing. I feel like there's a delay till the funeral. And in that period from death to funeral, it's it really is celebrations worldwide. Now they start out big, they lull a little bit, and then when we get to the funeral, they're big again. And they're big. I mean, they're big like the No Kings protest big in the US. And but they're not just in the US, they're all over the world. Um, I think the world leaders that do come are the ones that uh, you and I wouldn't necessarily think of as being welcome in the U.S. I do think Netanyahu's there, the leader of Argentina, you know, the guy Viktor Orban, maybe from Hungary. I think that was him. I have to. I couldn't really get a clear picture of the face there, but that seemed right. And the prime minister or leader of Italy, she was there as well, I think. So, but most people avoid it, and I think part of the reason is it feels like it's really cold. I can see people's breaths when they're protesting in certain spots, so it's definitely cold somewhere. Um, it does feel like this is really soon, but timing is really hard. So I could be right, I could be wrong. This is just a tarot reading for entertainment purposes only. Um, I could be right, I could be wrong. Like I always say, I've been way more right than I've been wrong. Otherwise, I wouldn't do this. Okay, so let's first throw, is there a health event? And then is there a state funeral? Are there protests? And just kind of some overall energies. Maybe let's kind of see how this develops. So is there a health crisis before his passing? Because I don't think this is him passing. I think it's just a health crisis. I don't think we learn about it. I think it's kept very much hush hush. Is there a health crisis that leads up to his passing? He's falling asleep again. He's, unable to articulate words, can't pronounce certain syllables, can't, complete a sentence. Um, he's looking worse and worse. His hair's changed colors, which just tells me that he's not as interested in taking care of himself. Like his appearance is becoming a little bit less important, which is generally happens when people are depressed. which I think he knows he's on the way out. And then this election really didn't help. And the Epstein stuff is going to probably come out at some point, and he's very scared of that. So, does he have a health crisis before his passing? Yes, and it requires quick response. The Knight of Wands. Something about toxicity levels. We keep getting this to the Devil card. It's like there's something wrong with not only his heart, but I don't know, like with his blood or something. Like his kidneys aren't working properly, or there's a buildup of something there that's concerning. Um, I think when they first show up, they don't know what they're looking for because there's many different possibilities. I do think they figure it out. Um, he's got good people around him to help, and they're loyal, which is unfortunate. Yeah, he needs to be given a drug. Maybe this is just like a heparin or a blood thinner, something to respond to a stroke and then to a heart attack. Although I don't think this particular incident is either of those. I think it's like a fainting incident, um, caused probably by like dehydration is what it feels like. That's why it's hard to figure out at the beginning. Um, he definitely feels very scared and isolated and alone when this is going on. Um, this is that karmic justice to his death, is that he is very frightened. He does not have a nice transition. He just doesn't. It's kicking and fighting the whole way. Uh, the doctors are reacting kind of blind because he has so many health problems. The star card, he'll survive this first one, and discernment. I think this does have to do with dehydration. I think he faints. I think people quickly on the scenes, they're trying to administer whatever help they can figure out. They're a little confused in the beginning, but they do figure it out and they get it hooked up to an IV, which would explain the image of the IV. Uh, they're really not sure what to expect because he has so many health conditions that there are a lot of possibilities. Um, there's some sort of toxicity to his system, which just makes sense. Like dehydration, you build up not having enough electrolytes and literally uh, things aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. He does have good health care. I think he survives the situation, but I think it scares him quite a bit. I don't think we hear about it, by the way. I'll throw a card on that. Um, he's got all the tools at his disposal. It definitely scares him, and he realizes that. Yeah, actually, I think this does come to light, the Sun card with the Democrats following up the King of Cups. So I think I'm wrong about that. I think it does. I don't know that it comes to light until after his passing, but um, yeah, I think that's right. Okay, so let's look to see if he's got gets a state funeral. Let's look at the protesters, um, and we'll look at world reactions. And then we'll look at just his health right now and where it stands. So, does he get a state funeral? I can't imagine he doesn't, but it is going to be met with a lot of controversy. Democrats are going to say things. They're going to be savvy about what they say, but this is going to make half the country mad. or more than half. Seeing him, sitting in the rotunda where all the January 6th stuff happened. Get a state funeral. Yes, the Queen of Cups, empathy. There's a lot of pushback here with the Knight of Wands. Uh, but the Justice cards here, most presidents do, so I don't think he's any different. Uh, there's a lot of pushback, though. The Eight of Pentacles here, if one plan doesn't work, try another. It's going to take some convincing to get people to show up, like political figures to show up to the rotunda. In fact, I think many don't. I think the Democrats just don't show up. I think the public, there'll be plenty of them showing up, but they'll have to screen them very carefully because, you know, there is the potential for an incidence of, somebody spitting at the coffin, for example. Like there just is. So this is done very carefully, and the number of people that are allowed in, I think, are limited. And I think that's why they're trying to get all the lawmakers there because they fear letting some of the public in because, you know, I think I wouldn't be surprised if somebody actually does spit on his coffin. Um, the seeds have been planted that he's a traitor, and that's the way people think of him. They're going to have to be very careful, the Queen of Wands here, very discerning about who they let into this and how they proceed with it. We do get the Wheel of Fortune. It's a gamble. It really is a gamble. Not so much just the letting the public coming in is a gamble. Now they'll be screened for weapons and stuff like that, obviously, but you can't keep people from, you know, yelling things or spitting things or things like that. And, there are a lot of people that feel that way, and I wouldn't be surprised if somebody wants attention and does that. It very much feels like it's fraught with problems. And, yeah, surprises, bombshells, and surprises. Um, so it'll be done because that's what we do for people that have been president. But there's I feel like there's something that happens here. Like somebody spits on his coffin or yells something in the middle of the rotunda. Um, it does not go off without an incident. And that's the big surprise to a lot of people. Because a lot of Republicans don't really understand how disliked he is. They just don't get it. They don't understand how disliked they are either. They're going to have to be very careful about how they do this. Otherwise, they're going to end up with this incident, which in some sense is part of this justice, right? This is how he'll be remembered. His funeral will be remembered not for him being there, but for somebody spitting on his coffin. Something along those lines. I'm not saying that's exactly what happens, but it's something along those lines, or worse. They're definitely going to need to put up guardrails, extra security. They know that. They do know it's a gamble, but again, you really can't stop people from yelling something, spitting, right? It just, you can't. So they'll try to censor it, I think, but that's what people are going to be happy that he's gone and people are going to be celebrating. And yes, I think some stuff about the Epstein comes out. So the Eight of Cups, the Six of Wands, the Chariot card, and then we get new leadership. which is the Ace of Wands. When does that happen? It happens after the loss when he's gone the Five of Cups. So um, I do think he gets a state funeral. Okay, let's look at the protests. What do we need to know about them? What do we need to know about the protests? We need to know about the protests at his funeral and during this time period from death to funeral. What do we need to know about them? Know about them. Well, I think Vance condemns them. The Ace of Wands, that's kind of my card for Vance, new leadership, right? A new career, a spark. Um, I think he's condemned for condemning them, if that makes sense. It's like the sheer size of them scares him. I've always seen this, the sheer size of the protests and the gatherings. I don't even know that we would call them protests. They're celebrations more than anything. They really scare him. Um, because I think he too is delusional about how much they're disliked around the world in particular. The Seven of Pentacles. People are already planning this. I've even in the comments on videos, people have told me they have, bottles of champagne ready to go. I get it, right? Every morning is kind of a waking up and it's like, is he still here? And if he is, well, what has he done today? Or every evening, even sometimes, depending upon how busy I am. So it's, um, yeah, we get the death card. This is just a good confirmation that we're reading on the right topic here. What are people celebrating? They're celebrating his death. Um, the Four of Cups. It awakens, the apathy in this country. Like the people that have been setting back, just feeling the sense of dread and just wanting to survive. The people living in the shadows that are worried about their status in the country. I don't think they come out to protest, but that energy builds, right? When the collective has joy, it spreads. And that's really what it feels like. Um, it happens quickly. I mean, within, minutes of the announcement that he's dead, people are to the streets. It just happens very fast. It's spontaneous and it lasts. And, people singing songs and just carrying on. Yes, there'll be some signs and there'll be some less savory things as well. But, for the most part, it's really people just kind of holding hands and singing and cheering, very much like when Biden was announced as being the president-elect in 2020, all the things that broke out all over the country. Again, it's going to happen very quickly, the Eight of Wands. It'll definitely send a message to his family, which good or bad, that he's not liked by a vast majority of people worldwide. Uh, a lot of people will feel like this is the dawning of a new time period, and in a lot of ways it is, and in a lot of ways it isn't. But it it is a time where there's going to be a little bit more transparency. Like that part I do think happens. And it's going to make the people that support him feel rather isolated and alone. So I think Vance condemns these. They happen very, very quickly. And the people that mourn him feel very isolated and alone. They just do. Uh, People will be talking to reporters, sharing why they're happy this happened. That'll happen quite quickly and right after his passing. Um, People are already planning these things. It also awakens the people that are behind the shadows that are just scared. I don't think they come out and protest or celebrate. I think their doom gloom turns to a little bit of joy, which just adds to the energy of the world on that day. And things happen very quickly, and people will describe this as the day the world changed for the better. Like I think I even heard Nancy Pelosi say something to the effect of the world is safer now during one of my scrying moments. And I do think that is the sentiment. There are things going on behind the scenes. People, you know, are sick of the abuse of power and they're thinking about the next generation, the Six of Cups, and they're ready to walk away from this administration, the Eight of Cups, and start something completely new, the Fool card. Now, fortunately, Vance taking over isn't something completely new, but it's new. It's new enough that it's exciting. So I think that's quite exciting. Okay, what's the world reaction here? And then we'll look at his health. How does the world react? So this is the after tarot. It seems appropriate. How does the world react to his passing? And just for time, I still think it happens soon. And I don't know what else to say with that. Timing's very hard. Fall isn't over yet until the 21st of December. The world is very weary uh, about the public celebrating, right? World leaders are nervous about the populace in their country celebrating because of how it'll be perceived. That'll dissipate as they realize it's all over the world. Um, yeah, there's some feeling that we shouldn't be doing this by the world leaders, that is, not by the public, but they happen anyhow, the chariot card. Um, yeah, people are basically saying to hell with it. Uh, most people don't celebrate people's passing, but this one will be celebrated. People will see this as a victory for the world, the Six of Wands, uh, and see this as sending a message to wound this movement. That's how people are really going to view it. At least half of the people, maybe more. They're celebrating not only because they're joyous and they're happy, they're celebrating to send a message to the movement that this is not what we want. Um, and that is the Page of Pentacles is that message. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if people are already planning this around the world. Uh, and we get the card for loss, the Five of Cups. So world leaders would prefer this doesn't happen, but people are going to celebrate his death as a victory with the Five of Cups representing his passing. But when the message comes out, people are going to instantly be excited, thinking victory and that the country and the world, more importantly, can move ahead. Yes, it will be seen as immature by some. It'll be seen by others as, just people letting out their frustration that they've had enough. And it'll be seen yet by another group as sending a message to Vance and other MAGA that this isn't what we want. And people, I think, are already planning this. So that's what I think is going on there. It will change things. quickly. Uh, but it's like that expression, licking your wounds. That's what it feels like. It's like Republicans don't necessarily change, but they kind of go into hiding almost, and stop talking about the more crazy ideas that were being proposed. Okay, let's just really quickly look at his health. How's his health this week and next week? Timing is so hard. It's just how's his health this week and next week? Can you show us? It's not good. Yeah, the Page of Swords, one, he's self-sabotaging. He's not doing the things he's supposed to be doing, which is like staying calm. He's definitely not doing that. The Ten of Pentacles, the end of a cycle, the end of his health. You know, this very much could be an ending card. Nothing has changed since we looked into this the last time. Uh, it's fairly stable right now, like as in like it's probably not going to happen today or tomorrow, but things can change really quickly. Again, another 10, an end of a cycle. He's very much thinking about his family, which I know requires a sense of consciousness, but I don't think they like him. That's the sense I get. I just don't think they like him. And I think there's a lot of regrets there. Um, Things going on behind the scenes here that the doctors don't even know about. He's got other elements going on. We have victory, victory for the people. Uh, his health is at a crossroads, and we keep getting this to the Wheel of Fortune. It's a gamble every day. Like it could happen any day. It just could. So and yeah, he's self-sabotaging, thinking about his family and some of the mistakes he's made. By the way, the Wheel of Fortune's a 10 as well, so that's an end of a cycle. So that's three tens. Victory for families and back to consistency. It's just what's going to happen. His health is coming to an end. It's currently stable, but there are things going on behind the scenes that we won't see. It's a crossroads. So it does feel like, we could go from stability to instability really quickly. Messages coming forward, the voters, which causes him a lot of anger. So the Four of Wands, the Five of Wands, that's the progression. Things are getting worse. The Ten of Wands, big burdens, another 10, another end of a cycle for him and his health. And then this karmic justice around his passing is where we're headed towards. So I don't think it's much longer. Right. Thank you for watching and supporting the channel. Um and I don't know what to say about YouTube suppressing the videos. I don't know that there's much we can do about that other than to share and maybe do the notifications if you really want to. Obviously, I'm not gonna make you do anything you don't want to. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll be back with another video soon.